Hello everyone. We had started a debate on a new term, world democracy, right? And if there exists world democracy, what does it mean and which world democratic government, governs it? So we'll be discussing about world democracy in detail. So there are many institutions at the world level that perform some of the functions that a world government would perform. But we need to know just how democratic these organizations are. The yardstick here is whether each of the countries has free and equal say in the decisions that affect them. In this light, let us examine the organizations of some of these world bodies. Means there are certain international organizations which perform the functions somewhat related to the functions which a world government would perform. Your United Nations, your World Bank, right? These are the organizations which perform the functions somewhat similar to what a world government would perform, right? These United Nation may, or most of the countries are the members of this, of United Nations, right? Most of the countries who support peace, right, who support unity, are the members of United Nations, and it is the responsibility of the United Nations to ensure that world peace is maintained, right? World democracy is maintained. It is the duty of the United Nations to ensure that the countries which are underdeveloped, they receive proper financial help as well, right? They receive proper financial help, proper funds for their survival. It is the duty of the United Nations, these world organizations. But we need to know just how democratic these organizations are. The yardstick here is whether each of the countries has free and equal say in the decisions that affect them. In this light, let us examine the organizations of some of these world bodies. Every one of the 193 member states, as on 1 September 2012, now there are 193 members, 193 countries are the members of United Nations, are the part of this world organization, has one vote in the UN General Assembly. It meets in regular yearly sessions under a president elected from among the representatives of the member countries. General Assembly is like the parliament where all the discussions take place. In that sense, the UN would appear to be a very democratic organization. Now, it is appearing to be a very democratic organization, right? 193 countries are a member, and 193 countries have been given a right to vote, and 193 countries have an equal say in decision making. So from the outer view, if you see it, right, it looks like a parliament, right? And it appears to be very democratic as well. But the General Assembly cannot take any decision about what action should be taken in a conflict between different countries. But when it comes to resolving conflicts, General Assembly cannot take decisions in resolving conflicts between two different countries. There is another part of UN, right? There is another part of the same organization which looks over conflicts which occur between two countries, which looks over how to resolve the war-like situation between countries. So the 15 member Security Council of the United Nations takes such crucial decision. The council has 5 permanent members as well: US, Russia, UK, France and China. 10 other members are elected by the General Assembly for 2-year terms. The real power is with the 5 permanent members, and these 5 permanent members are UK, Russia, France, USA and China. Now, if these countries, right, if any of the countries, they don't agree to a decision, the decision is always nullified. For taking a decision, for finalizing a decision, these five countries should agree. If any of the one countries back out, the decision will not be taken, and the voting power which has been given to the 193 countries will be withheld, will be neglected. The permanent members, especially the US, contribute most of the money needed for the maintenance of the UN. Each permanent member has a veto power. It means that the council cannot take a decision if any permanent member says no to that decision. The system has led more and more people and countries to protest and demand that the US becomes more democratic. International Monetary Fund, that is IMF, is one of the biggest money lenders for any country in the world. It's 188 members. Now, how many members are there in IMF? 188. Do not have equal voting rights. The vote of each country is weighed by how much money it has contributed to the IMF. And if you see in the previous slide, it is mentioned that it is the USA which contributes most of the money needed for the maintenance of the UN. So definitely the power lies in the hand of USA. More than 52% of the voting power in the IMF is in the hands of only 10 countries. US, Japan, Germany, France, UK, China, Italy, Saudi Arabia, Canada and Russia. The remaining 178 countries have a very little say in how these international organizations take decisions. The World Bank has a similar system of voting. The president of the World Bank has always been a citizen of the US, conventionally nominated by the Treasury Secretary of the US government. Now, why it is the World Bank has a similar system of voting. The president, why the president of the World Bank is a US citizen? Because US contributes the most of the money. Now compare these to the kind of democratic practices that we have been discussing in this chapter. It is very clear, right, that these organizations are not democratic. Rather, power resides in the hands of few people only. What would you say about a country where some persons have a permanent position in the ministry and have power to stop the decision of the entire parliament? Or a parliament where 5% of the members hold a majority of votes? Would you call these democratic? Most of the global institutions fail to pass the simple test of democracy that we use for national governments. If global institutions are not, they are at least becoming more democratic than before. Here too, the evidence is not very encouraging. In fact, while nations are becoming more and more democratic than they were earlier, international organizations are becoming less democratic. 20 years ago, there were two big powers in the world, the US and the Soviet Union. The competition and conflict between these two big powers and their allies kept a certain balance in all the global organizations. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, the US appears to be the only superpower in the world. The American dominance affects the working of international organizations. Now class, what you will do is you will go through these slides once again. Just thoroughly go through these slides, right? Study each and every point very thoroughly. Think about it. Do the homework which I have given. And if any query is there, you can contact me on your WhatsApp group. Thank you.